If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know I love a great bike deal. And as much as I love doing super budget bike builds using cheap parts from smaller brands in China, there is actually one thing I enjoy even more, and that is finding a great second-hand bargain. A good used bike can be one of the best deals in cycling, especially if you know what to look for.
And in fact, a significant proportion of the bikes you've seen on this channel over the years have been second-hand, such as my Time Izon I used to set my PB up Alpe d'Huez, my CAD 13 I've recently just installed L2R7 on, and even most of the components on my Cream Egg gravel bike. Along with, how can I forget, my BMC hill climb machine that you all saw me build up and race to success earlier in the year. Plus countless other bikes I used in the time before having this channel.
So I wanted to set myself a challenge. Just how good of a second-hand bike could I pick up for around the same price that most people would recommend spending on a new entry-level bike, such as the Triband RC500. Now obviously, when you buy a second-hand bike versus shopping new, there are a lot of extra things you have to be cautious about. The condition of the bike, whether you trust the seller, how you're going to get it delivered, or you're going to have to pick it up. And obviously the big elephant in the room of, there's a lot of stolen bikes knocking around. Is it legit? Did the seller actually buy it with their own money? Because I don't know about you, I definitely don't want to be ending up with someone's stolen pride and joy. But there are a lot of ways to avoid the risk and hassle when buying a second-hand bike. And that leads us nicely on to the sponsor of today's video, My Next Bike, who have sponsored this video so I can showcase just how good their marketplace is at avoiding a lot of the common issues most people encounter when buying a second-hand bike through the traditional methods such as eBay or Facebook Marketplace. So I guess the next job is I need to go and find a bike to buy. So I'm going to hop on my laptop now and jump on My Next Bike and see what deals are available on the platform. I'm setting myself a budget of £700. Now with the fee that My Next Bike charge for all the shipping and handling of your bike, that leaves me with just over £600 to play with in order to strike a deal. And of course, I'm going to try and strike a great deal here. So let's get started. So jumping onto the website right now, I'm just going to go straight in, road bikes, and let's start having a look through some of the listings to see if I find one that piques my interest. This is going to take me a while, so I'm going to have a good search off camera and I'm going to come back when I've got a bit of a wish list together. So I put together this wish list of bikes that I've just sort of seen as I've been digging around the website, and some of them are quite a bit above budget, some of them coming in on budget, some of them below budget. Now, a really cool feature of My Next Bike, I guess similar to most online marketplace platforms, is the whole sort of negotiation and offering system. So I can put an offer into a seller, I think they've listed it a bit high. The bike you've listed for £700, will you do it for 600? So I think I'm going to do that. I might send some, slightly cheeky offers out and see what I get. Now the one that's really taken my eye is this purple CAD 12. And now at £600, I think that's actually a pretty decent price. But it's a bit of a weird listing with the bars sort of not set up and the seat post slammed right into the frame. However, I think it is in my size, but that purple coloured CAD 12 has always been one on my radar I've wanted for a long time. So I might be tempted to put an offer in for that. If you saw a listing like that on eBay, I might be a bit suspicious that maybe this is a stolen bike or something. However, I can see here in the listing, they provided My Next Bike with proof of ownership. So I can buy that safely without having to worry that it's a stolen bike. I think I'm mostly going to focus on rim brake bikes here, as generally there's quite a lot more negotiation room with rim brake, old rim brake stuff. People are struggling to shift, so I can put some cheeky offers in and see what we get. And the next one that looks quite interesting is this titanium Enigma Echo from 2012 with really old Ultegra, I think that's 10 speed, but it is in very nice condition. And for £650, that could be a really nice sort of winter bike frame. I don't know what the clearance is on these. Being an old frame, it might be quite tight, but that could be a lovely platform to start upgrading. Now, this could be an interesting bike. The Trek Domane 4. Is that 105 or Tiagra? I think that's got Tiagra on it. Maybe a bit low end for me, but it's a size large and it's a disc brake bike with hydraulic disc. I could proper spec that out. That could be an option. This really is an interesting bike. It's a rim brake Emonda SL, and again it's in my size, medium large, which I think is usually about a 56 with Treks, and this could be a really smart bike if I could get it for a good price. Now the one thing is the integrated seat post I'd have to be careful with, but yeah, carbon wheels, it's got Dura Ace chain set, it's got 11 speed Ultegra Di2. I mean, they've got it listed for 1,000, but I'll be cheeky. Well, I'll submit 700, and if they accepted that, Would that be worth blowing my budget a little bit for? Now, this was another one that took my fancy, a Specialized Alley, size 58, so pretty good for me. Strand rival mechanical shifting, pretty basic wheels. But yeah, I've always wanted to try one of these Specialized Alleys. I might send them an offer as well. Fire Advance Pro 699 105. Let's have a look at this one. And it's disc brake, size large. This could be interesting. Oh, it does use the old style horrible shifters, but hydraulic disc brakes could be a good compelling option, this. A lot of e-bikes on here if that's your thing. And I guess, to be honest with you, e-bikes is something you probably do want to buy through sort of a certified platform, considering how rife theft of them is. Right, so that's a load of offers sent and all ready to go. Let's see what we get back. So I'm going to give it a few hours, see what I get, and then make my decision. Now, as you've just seen, My Next Bike is a platform designed to make buying and selling second-hand bikes super easy. And here's some of the great features they have that help make the process of buying a second-hand bike just so much better. So My Next Bike allows sellers to verify that they are the original or have genuine purchase of the bike. So you can be 100% confident that you're not going to end up with a stolen bike, which as a past victim of bike theft makes me feel far more comfortable when shopping. Secondly, checkout is handled with full buyer protection. So if the bike turns up not as described or as it was sold to you, they've got your back and they'll sort it out for you without having to deal with arguing with the seller yourself. Thirdly, delivery. I don't know if you've ever tried to post a bike before, but it is a right pain to get packaged up and also can run quite a high fee. Now, My Next Bike do charge a fee for delivery, but it really justifies it. Now, when you buy a bike on the platform, pretty much a van driver goes to the seller, picks up the bike without any need for packaging, securely transports it to your address, and just hands the bike over to you. No need to unbox it or unpack it. Just make sure the tyres are pumped up and the bike's ready to ride. You know, there's no fiddling around handing cash on Facebook Marketplace. Super, super easy and seamless. And I had a great experience with this. Having my bike delivered by a proper specialist bike courier firm is so much less hassle than dealing with some of the useless couriers these days. And you know what? The prices are super competitive as well. And if you think a bike is a bit overpriced, you can always negotiate with the seller. They have a built-in offers function that allows you to offer below the list price, and you never know, you might be able to get yourself a bargain just as good as me. If you are looking to buy yourself an excellent second-hand bike, maybe you're looking to build up something for the next year's hill climb season, check out mynextbike.co.uk. And what's better, My Next Bike have offered my viewers an exclusive discount of £25 off bikes under £1,000 or £50 off bikes over £1,000. To get that, use codes TOM25 and 50 respectively. And now it's time for the bit you've all been waiting for. Just how good of a bike did I manage to get for my £700? Let's find out. Now, last night the delivery turned up and I'm about to reveal to you what I got for my money. It cost me £630 for the bike, plus £89 delivery fees. And yeah, I am super impressed and super excited to show you what I've bought for that money. But first, I'm just going to quickly talk about the delivery experience because it's one I've not really experienced before when buying a second-hand bike. My Next Bike used like a dedicated cycling courier service where pretty much they go to the seller's house, pick the bike up, put it in a van, and usually on the same day drive it to you and just drop it off. No boxes, no packaging. It's just been nicely, securely delivered in a van, ready to just take out the back of the van and you're ready to go. You know, if it wasn't horrible and dark all the time here in the UK at the minute, you could pretty much go for a ride in it straight away. And behind the curtain, we have a 2018 Trek Domane SL7 in pretty much a stock configuration. Now the bike arrived in pretty much this stock configuration. Aside from the saddle, which I've already swapped out to one I think is going to be more comfortable, it's got full Ultegra R8000 or R8050 since it's the Di2 version, front and rear mechs, shifters which are in really, really good condition. And the only bit that's not Ultegra is these Trek direct mount brakes, which from reading online, people seem really impressed with the performance of. So they're not the usual manufacturer cheaping out on third-party brakes. Now, it had an 11 to 32 cassette with a compact chain set up front, which is perfect gears for climbing in the hills around here. Another part where I was really impressed by the specs was the wheels themselves. These are Bontrager Aeolus Pro 3 carbon wheels, which are pretty nice carbon wheels with straight pull spokes and a nice textured brake track to help stopping with carbon rim brakes, which is always fun. Now, currently they've got just cheap butyl tubes in,
However, these are actually tubeless ready wheels, which has already given me some good upgrade ideas. Moving to the front of the bike, it comes with some really nice Supercaz bar tape, which clearly must have been pretty new on before the seller sold it, as it's really clean and in very good condition. A great little bonus. However, a bit of a downside is the stem's pretty short and it's got super wide bars, as pretty much every bike comes stock from factory. So I will have to be swapping them out. And the tyres that are on the bike are 28mm front and rear. But looking at the clearance, there seems to be ample clearance on there. So I might even try and squeeze in a 30mm when I go to upgrade this. Now, because it's a Domane as well, you've got this ISO speed decoupler, front and rear, which supposedly makes the ride far comfier. Yet to try that, but we're going to see. And finally, one nice bonus is the seller did include the Di2 charger to charge up the little Di2 box here, which actually would have been rather expensive if they didn't include it. So I'm glad they've thrown that in. Of course, I'm going to have to throw it on the scales and see what it clocks in at. And without pedals, we're reading at 7.86 kilos, which I actually think is a pretty respectable weight. But of course, it wouldn't be one of my videos unless I tried to get this even lighter. However, since this video is already long enough, you are going to have to wait for part 2 to get that. But is it going to ride well? I better throw some kit on and get this out on the road to see how it performs in the real world and see if I think it's a good buy for the £700 I paid for it. As you might be able to tell, I'm super impressed with my second-hand purchase from my next bike. So I know I've only been on one proper ride on it, but I have to say I've been loving how it's been riding. Little bit of geometry and fit issues aside, I have actually found it really comfortable, and I think probably these ISO speeds are doing some real work, as I had the tyres pumped up pretty rock solid with butyl tubes, which are notorious for being pretty uncomfortable. But genuinely, the ride was really nice and it felt super solid, which sometimes carbon rim brakes can feel a bit sketchy, but I didn't have any of them issues. And honestly, I don't know about you, but for me, any day of the week, I'd ride an old high-end bike over a modern entry-level disc brake bike. I just love the nice to have things like Di2 and carbon wheels, even if it isn't having the biggest performance impact, and maybe a disc brake bike might be more appropriate. There's just something about having a nice high-end bike, isn't there? Even if it is a few years old. Now, as I teased earlier, this is not the end of the project. I have got a ton of upgrades planned for this bike for a part 2, where I'm going to try and keep the total cost of the build under £1,000 and see just how good I can get it, because I think there's some really easy, cheap, sensible upgrades I can make to this bike to massively improve its performance. For example, doing something with the tyres and tubes, probably overhauling the geometry, and looking at other little creative ways I can drop the weight of this bike. As I said, when I threw it on the scales without pedals earlier, we were looking at about 7.8 kilos. I reckon I can get it down pretty close to that 7 kilo mark for only a few £100 worth of upgrades. So yeah, you'll have to get yourself subscribed down below to see just how good I can get this bike. Because yeah, I've been absolutely loving riding it and it's just been so good. And of course, this was all made possible by the sponsor of today's video, mynextbike.co.uk, which made the purchase process super easy. And to be honest with you, possibly even easier than buying a new bike. I think this might beat the AliExpress route, you know. Someone actually commented on a recent video, you know, what are you doing buying all this junk from overseas when you could just go on the second-hand market? And at times I do agree with them, because just look what you can get for £700. I mean, it would have been 630 if I wanted to pick it up. So, you know, what's not to like about it? And yeah, I can't wait to go through some upgrades on it. I've been almost itching to do it. I've been really having to refrain from straight away throwing some other parts on it and start tinkering until I've shot this video, because I wanted to keep it stock to show you guys. I've literally got a load of parts lined up in the garage, ready to throw on this. And then I'll compare it to the sort of thing I would have built up from AliExpress for a similar price point. And we'll just see how it comes out in that battle. So as I said, you're gonna have to get yourself subscribed down below so you don't miss the follow-up and see all the exciting upgrades I'm starting to think about for this bike. And until then, I'll see you all in the next one.